We got Deadpool 3 updates, kind of. Fantastic Four news, maybe. And I think a book is spiking because of you, Jem. I think it's all your fault. But before we get to that, if you want to support our show directly, we'll send you comics every single month. And one per box, we have our first Chrissy Zulo Edge of Spider-Verse #1 variant cover that every member is going to be receiving. Also, one per box is a Venom 25 foil Raph Grissetti. Join the community. Go to ComicTom101.com. And Jem, let's get into it.
Yeah, I definitely called one of these books on the list, but before we get there, let's jump into number 10, and it's some mutant love with X-Men 12, the first appearance of Juggernaut.
X-Men keys are so expensive, especially those early Herbie classics. And this was actually one of the very first key comics from the run that I ever saved up for and bought to add to my PC. We have the first appearance of Juggernaut in issue 12 that came out in 1965. And you can get a 2.0 for $300. That's up 11%. 3.5, 18% up. 4.5 is also 18% up. The 5.0 is up 16%. And the 6.0 is up 4%. I imagine it's because of the renewed interest courtesy of the animation.
He could definitely show up in X-Men 97 or maybe even as a cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine. It's kind of the last chance to scoop up this key before he makes any appearances.
I also want to point out that this book is very tough to secure in high grade. There's only 2 9.8s that exist. That is it. The 9.6s are the only ones we ever really see hit the market, and there's only 11 copies. The last time one sold was last year in March. Post-comic boom, mind you, and it sold for a record high of $41,911. 9.6s are the benchmark that adjusts the floor of this book. So keep an eye on it because, yes, we may see something in the mainstream. We may see this character again hit the big screen. But also, if we see any scarce high-grade copies, the floor may shake.
You definitely got to pay attention when you see a book breaking records in this market. Moving on to number 9, we have Batman 423 again on the list. Classic Todd McFarlane key. It's so nice to see Todd McFarlane maintain relevance in this day and age. Did you happen to catch that video he did over at comicbook.com?
That's right. Over on YouTube, you got to check out comicbook.com's video where they did a warehouse tour with Todd McFarlane. You don't just see the original cover to Spawn 1 and the painted cover, which Todd both owns, by the way, but you see prelims, mock-ups of what Spawn could have been, and you even see his personal collection and comics that may surprise you that he had Stan Lee sign.
Yeah, so cool to see him have Stan Lee sign Spawn comics. It's like every opportunity he got to have Stan sign something, he figured I'd give him something that nobody's going to give him, a Spawn book.
Spawn 350 just dropped. I won't spoil it, but we have a new person on the throne, which has spiked other books. The relevance that Todd maintains in the comic market is directly attributed to not just his ongoing titles that he has full control over and stresses about. He always provides that top quality content, but it's also him stepping out of his comfort zone and doing things like Whatnot streams and going on YouTube and taking tours to show off his office and joining Facebook Lives and showing people how to draw. I think it's a combination of all these things that make not just the comic fam interested in what Todd's got going on, but the mainstream. Maintaining relevance is key in the comic industry, and a lot of people can learn from the Todd father. Take a look at this book. One of the most classic Batman covers of all time. Batman 423 at a 7.0, up 7%, 8.0, 27%.
The third printing 9.4 is up 24%, and the third printing 9.6 is up 5%. Then you got the direct market 9.6 maintaining its average of 474, just like the 9.8 coming in at 2,200.
The 9.8 has been selling for above $2,000 for over a year now. It's barely fluctuated, and we can't say that about many comics in this market. And that's not because there haven't been an increase to the census count. There has been. There's a new 9.8 in the last week that's been added. In fact, there are 13 new 9.6s, and the book is still selling strong. Next on the list at number 8, I imagine courtesy of the Super Bowl, we have Wolverine 88. But this has dropped on our list, Jem.
Yeah, this book was super hot right out the gate. We had a reveal for the movie title. It was no longer Deadpool 3, officially Deadpool and Wolverine. So their first battle spiked the list. is still on the list this week. And remember, there are 3 different versions of this book. You got the Deluxe 8.0 up 6%. The Deluxe Newsstand 9.0 is up 43%. Then you have the Deluxe 9.0 up 5%. The 9.2 is up 2%. The 9.4 is up 21%. And the Deluxe 9.6 came in at $195, 13% above its average.
We reported on this book last week, and clearly there are individuals who don't know the different versions of this book because we found some interesting numbers. The Deluxe 9.6, no barcode, sold for $300, whereas a Newsstand 9.6 sold for less, $275. So either someone overpaid or they underpaid. And we hypothesized that they didn't know that one book was rarer than the other. That barcode matters with this book. And this week, we have the numbers to prove it. Deluxe Newsstand 9.6 broke records, last selling in 2022 for $300 at its all-time height. Now selling for $325, an increase of 8%. That member last week got that book for $75 to $100 less than market rate.
Moving on to number 7, we have Godzilla issue number 1 back for the 3rd time this year. It originally made the list because of Godzilla -1, but now we've got this Godzilla King Kong movie coming out, bringing the book to the spotlight again.
And dude, the trailer looks terrible, man. I don't want to see King Kong running next to Godzilla like they're in a damn Marvel team-up movie. But this book, yeah, it could be getting some heat because of this movie that's coming out. But no, this is the embers caused from the flames brought from Godzilla -1. The 7.0 is up 7%, the 8.0 8%, 9.0 21%, 9.6 9%, and the 9.8 sold for $485. That's up 14%. And considering 9.8's hit near $1,000 for the first U.S. comic book appearance of Godzilla, I think getting this book for anything less than $500 is a great deal.
What's funny is I still haven't seen Godzilla -1, and I'm actually excited for Godzilla X Kong, the new Gempire.
Oh, shout out to the Geminites and Comic Fam. Shout out to the app that makes all of this possible, Key Collector Comics. This is where we source all of our comic data from, and it's an app I use every day. It keeps me very savvy on this rapidly moving marketplace. If you utilize code TOM101, you unlock a free 2-week subscription to unlock the app in its entirety, but like 98+% of the app is free. There are countless comic books that are loaded on there for you to learn about, to organize your own collection, and you even get suggested pricing and access to this very list we report on before we even hit the mic.
On Valentine's Day, we've got the official confirmation of the Fantastic Four cast. And who else was in that Valentine's Day card? None other than Herbie, putting Fantastic Four issue 209 at the list at number 6.
Peeps were like, I want to buy some Fantastic Four keys, and said, can't afford it. So what's the next best bet? Oh, this book from 1979 that sells for like $10 averages, but we're seeing high-grade copies get scooped up and selling very well because no one was specking on this book. The 9.0 is up 46%, and that 9.2 is up 10%.
The 9.6 sold for $200. That's 141% above its 12-month average, and the 9.8 sold for $350 for an increase of 52%.
Since this list was generated, there was actually another 9.6 sale that sold for $20 more than the average gem just mentioned. That means that people are indeed specking on this book hard. And the Newsstand 9.0 is seeing a record-breaking sale, last selling in 2022 for $50. Well, it's up 80%, now selling for $100. And the 9.4 back in 2021 sold for $125. It's up 20% for an all-new record of $150. But the news only gets better this week because this is going to be a robot. It's going to be another opportunity for a voice actor or actress to take on the role. And this was mentioned, in the rumor mill that Marvel wanted a comedian to do the voice of Herbie. And guess who responded to the tweet?
None other than Ricky Gervais. He responded to the rumor by responding to the tweet, asking, hey, can I swear?
They wear masks and capes and really tight costumes. Their job isn't acting anymore. It's going to the gym twice a day and taking steroids, really.
Which brings us to number 5 on the list. And Jem, damn it, I think it was your fault because so many books spiked post-Super Bowl. And they made themselves loud and clear. They were high ranking on the list. Numbers were exploding. And then we have a new book to enter the Hot 10, one that we haven't seen on the list all year. And I think it's because of you.
When we got a glimpse of Patch in the Wolverine and Deadpool trailer, I immediately thought of this book. Coming in at number 5, it's Wolverine 8. And it's not the first appearance of Patch, or Mr. Fix-It, but it's such an iconic cover. I knew this one was going to spike.
And don't forget to flip that comic over and take a look at the Rob Liefeld Logan masterpiece on the back. We have the 9.4 you can get for $123, an increase of 15%. The 9.6 is going for $174, an increase of 26%. And you can get a 9.8 for $336. It's an increase of 8%. But this book was approaching the $700 to $800 marker at its height. It's a classic book, but I think people underestimate how hard it is to get it in high grade with that blue background.
And this book is available. The last time we talked about it, it was about 5 months ago. And since then, there have been 375 new books added to the census, including 103 new 9.8s.
Which brings us to one of the worst films that has ever been produced about superheroes. Number 4 on the list, ASM 210, the first appearance of Madam Web. I haven't seen it yet, but critics have all made their voices heard. This movie has dropped 61% in a week in attendance at the theaters, which is crazy to think about. But let's double down, because in 11 days that the movie's been out, it hasn't even grossed what Morbius did on opening weekend. Hot damn.
Yeah, I think people were willing to give Morbius a chance because it's a cool character and it's a vampire movie, but I think people are done giving these movie chances and just give us the movies that we want to see. But what's funny is, this book, even though people seem to be dumping them, are still selling aggressively above average. We've got a newsstand 7.5 up 15%. The newsstand 8.0 is up 14%. The regular 8.5 is up 6%. The regular 9.0 sold for $180. That's 22% above average.
The 9.2 is selling for above $200, which is an increase of 38%. The 9.4 is up 26%. The 9.6, 7%. Then you have the newsstand 9.6, which hit $400, which is up 18%. And then we have somebody paying $890 for a CGC 9.8, which is up 16% when you compare it to the recent 12-month average. What do you think is happening? Is this like a memification causing the key to be worth more right now? Do you think people are fools buying this book right now? Or are ASM collectors looking at the price going, yeah, it's low, but it's still ASM and I want it? And it just gives them a tickle to know that the movie tanked.
I think it's the latter. I think people who genuinely wanted this book, it's a Spider-Man key, they're probably thinking of the original Madam Web from either the comics or the animated series and are happy that this movie tanked so they can get it for an affordable price.
Let me know what you think in the comment section below while we take you to number 3 on the list. To no surprise, we have New Mutants 98, first appearance of Deadpool, Rob Liefeld goodness, and no new 9.8s to report on as far as high sales. In fact, let's hit them with the 9.8 last sale because it's selling for lower than the 12-month average.
Well, there have been 13 new 9.8s added to the census in the last 2 weeks. So almost every single day, there's been a new 9.8. So even though this book is hot, it's available. So you have an average of $1,417, but the last sale coming in at $1,248.
And it's one of the hottest books in the world. You would typically see that price not going down, but you can thank CGC and their turnaround time for that. Well, we have a bunch of sales, but take a look at Key Collector for all of them. I'm going to give you some of the highlights. The 9.4 is selling for $500 for an increase of 16%, and the newsstand 9.4 is selling for $521, an increase of 7%. And I don't typically value newsstands as far as the bump they get, unless we're talking about the 9.6 at best, and certainly the 9.8.
Yeah, that premium used to be exclusively for the 9.8, but we saw that trend change during the comic boom. The direct market 9.6 is up 14%, and the newsstand 9.6 is still selling about average, coming in at $750.
And that newsstand 9.6, which, as Jem just said, didn't really fluctuate up until the last couple of years, just sold for $130 more than the standard 9.6. So the collectors are clearly making their voice heard through what they're purchasing, just like what they're doing with number 2 on the list with Wolverine number 1, Frank Miller. Goodness.
And for whatever reason, when we first got news that Hugh Jackman would reprise his role as Wolverine in the upcoming Deadpool film, the market decided that this was the Wolverine key to spec on. I don't know why. It's not his first appearance or his first cameo. It is his first solo series with the iconic Frank Miller cover, but we have a ton of sales on this one as well. 7.0 up 11%. Newsstand 8.0 is up 47%. The 8.5 is up 14%. The 9.0 is up 21%. So is the 9.2. And the 9.4 sold for $230, 20% above average.
The newsstand 9.4 is up 15%. The 9.6 direct is up 19%. There are so many sales. I mean, we're choosing to cover all of these to demonstrate just how many people are buying this book right now. The newsstand 9.6 sold for $425, an increase of 22%. And the 9.8 just clocked a sale for $680. That's an increase of 2%. This book has been hovering around the $700 marker all year long.
And moving on to the hottest book in the world, I guess no news is good news for this book, although we do have a rumor. It's Uncanny X-Men 130, the first appearance of Dazzler.
It's so crazy to think, but there has been zero actual news to report on as it pertains to Taylor Swift and her involvement with Dazzler or Lady Deadpool or her playing herself. Anything with Deadpool 3 is what I'm saying. We have a rumor this week that she may be doing a song for Deadpool 3. Now, that also makes me feel like that would weigh the likelihood closer to her maybe portraying herself. I don't know. But isn't it interesting to think that one of the hottest books to spec on, what could be one of the biggest spec fails of 2023 to 2024, and we are months away from release, and they've somehow kept this under wraps, and the book has been spiking more because of football than anything else?
Man, we have 9 sales that are double-digit percentages over their 12-month average, and then 5 record breakers. Starting with the newsstand 5.5, it last sold for $80 in August. It's up 50%, now selling for $120. The newsstand 6.5 broke record. It's up 4%. The 9.0 is up 3%. The 9.4 is up 35%. And then we have a newsstand 9.8, last selling for $2,100 back in August. It's up 24% with this new record-breaking sale of $2,600.
Holy smokes, that is a lot of money to throw down on a spec that is far from confirmed. I mean, even the direct 9.8 had a sale for $2,137 this past week. This book has been trending around $1,500 all year long. That is up 35%. Let me know what you think about the Dazzler spec, Wolverine, Deadpool, I guess Madam Web. Did you like that Todd McFarlane video? What was the most exciting thing that you saw in it? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always,
Geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
Enough said.